Welcome to the Sound Bites podcast. I'm your host, Nick Martin, and today we'll be hearing from Tanner Horst at Keystone Quality Motors in New Holland, Pennsylvania, on various aspects of their business. Tanner operates as the office manager on day-to-day tasks, but also has a part ownership of Keystone, which makes him especially in tune with the industry today as he tries to help grow the business. We'll be discussing about how technology affects Keystone Motors today and how they leverage technology to their advantage. How is our service department affected by advancements in today's new automotive technology? COVID rapidly changed how automotive sales are happening. So how has Keystone adapted? Stick around to hear what Tanner has to say.
Cool.
Yeah. So, all right, well, we're going to get started.
Let's do it. I've been doing some thinking.
Awesome.
So hopefully it translates all right.
Oh, I'm sure it will. Well, I really appreciate you stopping out. All right. Yeah. So just give us a little bit of background on yourself. Give us a little bit of who you are, how you came to be a Keystone Quality Motors.
Yeah. So it started in 2012, I think it was. Went to school for business management and had this opportunity come up. Actually, it's my father-in-law who has the business. And so, yeah, just thought it was a neat opportunity. I've always wanted to get into business, always wanted to do small business, had no idea what it would be. Anything from worked in a grocery store to whatever. Didn't know what it'd be like. So it was pretty cool to have this opportunity to be able to work in automotive. Never really pictured myself there, but it's been a lot of fun.
Good. So what do you do day to day? Like, what's your role there?
Yeah, it can change day to day. So I would say my title would be office manager, but I'm moving into with my father-in-law in business ownership. And so my roles have changed a little bit. Currently, it is helping customers, answering phone calls as they come in, greeting them, trying to maintain the schedule and doing some invoicing as well. But it's shifting more now into day-to-day operations, planning. Where do we want to be within the year? And then how do we get there? So starting to implement new technologies, different management softwares, that kind of stuff to try and see how can we keep growing. The industry's changing and we want to try and be ahead of the curve.
The automotive industry is changing so quickly.
Yeah, it's unreal.
Like one of the things I want to touch on is like this whole concept of electric cars and if that changes anything you do, but we'll get there.
Yeah.
The company itself, what do you guys do? Like, what's your main services? Do you have a niche?
We do pre-owned vehicle sales. That started a few years ago. Primarily, the business was started 50 years ago. It's our 50th anniversary this year, so
congrats.
We're celebrating that. Thank you. So it was primarily started as a service business, repairing vehicles, doing maintenance. We're still that's the core of the business now, and we're growing. Our sales department is really growing immensely these last 2 years. So we're excited about that. Had another salesman come on here in the last year or so. So it's been good. But yeah, just maintaining customer vehicles, servicing them, trying to care for the business, the customer's vehicles best we can. But our niche, however you want to say.
Yeah, I don't know.
I was thinking more about that, what makes us unique, and something that we as a business work very hard to do, and me being in customer service right now is there are many, many automotive repair shops around us. And so what makes us different? There's a lot of good mechanics around. We strive and work very hard to have quality service and give the customer the best service that they can get. But customer service is what we focus on. When I hear stories of customers calling dealerships or other repair facilities and the phone rings and rings and rings, and then finally someone picks up and they need to transfer you and it rings and rings and rings, that is something we pride ourselves in not doing. To give that customer an experience where they can sense the integrity and honesty of what we do. Communication's a big thing that we can continue to grow in, but we try to focus on communicating with the customer, communicating as a team so that it can be a smooth experience for the customer. That is where I see our differentiating factor from similar businesses.
That when people think of you guys, or the reason they come to you guys is that quality customer service.
Yes. I just had a customer tell me the other day, she was talking to a neighbor and the neighbor recommended us. There's no better compliment than someone recommending us and saying that we have such good service, because they can go anywhere to get their car repaired.
Sure.
But it's that personal touch that we work very hard to maintain.
That is certainly something I can understand. I know in our business, like anybody can sell you a product.
Yeah.
How well can they relate to you and service you? That's a huge difference.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's awesome. Cool. So so when you think about the role of technology, I know you touched on a little bit the office side of things, but can you talk about both the administrative side of technology and also even in the shop? I mean, from my understanding, you guys have actually implemented some pretty new technology in the past couple of years within the shop itself too. So can you talk about both in the shop and the administrative side of things?
As far as the shop goes, technology has advanced incredibly. New tools, we just bought a new AC machine, and it's got a computer built into it. So, I mean, it's amazing how quickly technology is advancing in vehicles, in tools to care for those vehicles. These scan tools that we have get updated monthly or weekly just to make sure that they have the most advanced technology that's out there.
These scan tools are something you plug into the car.
Yes, that connect to the vehicle. There are some that have wireless capabilities.
I bet you not many people know about that.
Yeah.
That you plug into the car and it's actually giving you data, a lot of data.
Yeah, which is a benefit of these advanced vehicles is all the sensors and everything that they have on the vehicles we can tie into, and we can learn a little bit what may be causing the engine to run poorly based off of the sensors and what their readings are. Downside to that, like technology has, we've all had computers that don't communicate properly, need to be rebooted, that kind of stuff. The sensors aren't always telling you the truth. So you still have to have that skilled mechanic that knows this is what should be happening. Let's confirm that the sensors are reading properly. And then if they are, let's see what they're picking up and what could cause that issue. So the tools that are needed to determine that have advanced incredibly. And so it's something that we're continuing to work as a business. How do you balance? You could spend all the money in the world on tools, and they're not getting any cheaper. Yeah. What's that balance look like?
Find that technicians, your guys who are in the shop, getting all greasy, getting all dirty. I mean, these are salt of the earth kind of people. Do they get frustrated by the new technology? Is that like something you have to help with at all, train?
Yeah, that's a great question. Sure. I mean, so they get frustrated with why would they make cars this way? Why do they do this? But they also understand things are evolving. And so we constantly are having to stay on training, make sure that our guys are getting the training they need to be able to learn about new diagnostic methods, the way sensors and radars and all these kinds of things are acting and what they affect within the vehicle. Because you can have an issue going on with a vehicle where there's a sensor for a completely different issue that's causing that vehicle to act oddly. And you'd never link the two, but in the computer, somehow they're all related. It is certainly a frustration point at some times for mechanics, but it's part of what they do.
But that probably goes back to that whole customer service you just talked about. I mean, you staying on top of your guys and helping them feel like they're not falling behind probably contributes to better customer service. Right.
Yeah. We try to. We try to continue to have a strong team so that we can care for the customers the best ways also.
Well, that's great.
Yeah.
That's great. So what about in the office? What are you guys doing in the office as far as your technology? How are you guys operating more efficiently because of it?
Yeah. That is a challenge. The office and just there's so much financial integration with all the softwares, right? So when you're invoicing, it goes into the books. And so when you talk about technology, maybe we don't update quite as quickly. Software within the office right now, we're looking at a new management system. So it's cloud-based, which is a fabulous feature. So right now, the software that we currently have and have had for the last 10 years or so is a locally run software. It works. There's times when we have hiccups, but for the most part, it stays up and running pretty well. But it doesn't get updated nearly as often as what these cloud-based ones do. And so in talking with this company that we're looking at, they're constantly just rolling out updates for this cloud-based software. And so it's really intriguing as we learn more about this and look at transitioning over. How is this going to help us? Downside of cloud-based, if internet goes out, then what do you do? Yeah. Then you revert back to pencil and paper. Yeah. But the benefits of that increased technology, I think, far outweigh having older technology that you're using every day.
Sure. And I feel like the automotive industry in general has always been a little bit behind in terms of, so now there's a cloud-based solution. I feel like there's been cloud-based solution in the last 10 years. Now, I feel like only now we're starting to hear about some of that.
Yeah,
It's
sure.
It's very new.
Right. And it's finally caught up to where this is mainstream now. When you look at management systems, the large majority of them are going cloud-based. And so I think it does take time. The automotive industry is one where at least the mechanics, the technicians, the age is on average is higher than what it would have been 30 years ago. And so I think there's some of that transition hesitancy. But I think as a whole, it's something that we as a business are trying to not get stuck in what we've always done.
Sure.
And let's see how we can improve. Things are changing. It's amazing how quickly technology advances, and it's happening the same in vehicles. And so we need to stay relevant, because I think in this industry, there's going to be shops that don't want to change, and they won't necessarily have to, but I don't think they'll be able to grow as vehicles continue to adapt, become more sophisticated.
Is it harder for smaller shops to keep up? Like, is that something you notice?
Yeah, for sure. Just the cost of tools, advanced tools. I mean, if you're a small shop, your budget's a little bit less. What do? I mean, you have to have vehicles in using these tools to be able to get a return on the investment. So it does sort of come down to dollars and cents at some point of,
yes.
Yeah, what do? You have to reinvest in tooling to make sure that you can still serve your customers the best way you can.
When you think about some of the challenges that are presented to you day by day, like what are some of the biggest technology challenges that you have? And maybe you've already talked about some of them, but like, what would you view as like, hey, this is probably one of our bigger challenges? May not be the biggest, but this is a bigger challenge that we're having right now with technology. What would you say that is?
I would say we have knowing the right place to get started. Think of this more on the service side of things. Sales has its own technology opportunities, and for the service end of things, staying on top of it. As an independent repair shop, we work on anything. I mean, Volvos, Volkswagens, Fords, Hondas, anything, Fiats. It's everything. So, I mean, we're looking at European vehicles, Asian vehicles, American vehicles. And so each one does things a little bit differently. And so just staying on top of each manufacturer and how they do things and how the programs talk to each other. I think that would mainly, not that we don't necessarily have the tools, but you got to make sure you know how to use the tools in each specific application.
Is there a certain like manufacturer that you're thinking, wow, they do it pretty well? Or it's probably getting into the nuts and bolts a little bit, but I was curious if there's one that really stands out. Hey, they're doing a good job staying ahead.
As far as they're staying ahead on the technology?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, technology or staying ahead. You guys as a service provider, how things are going.
Yeah.
Or what the newest technology they're giving is.
So right now, it sort of feels like a lot of different companies they're coming out with stuff constantly. We have some customers with Teslas, which is just, I mean, that's just a unique vehicle when it rolls into the shop, right?
That's right.
It's an animal. It's just a different kind of animal from the rest of the vehicle. So is there one that's further ahead than others? I don't know that I necessarily can say there's a specific manufacturer that are progressed further.
You feel like there's just really good competition between them, all trying to compete pretty well.
Yeah, okay. I do.
That's fair.
And certainly you see more luxury vehicles that come in and they've got more sensors as opposed to the bare bones Ford or Honda that doesn't have them. So I would say it's a pretty level playing field in the sense of vehicles as they're on the same scale. So Honda, Camry, the equivalent of that as a Chevy or Ford, I mean, are going to be pretty similar as far as technology advancements.
Okay.
Yeah.
Oh, that's great. And I'm glad you brought up the Tesla because I'm really curious, like electric vehicles.
Yeah.
Are they rolling into your shop more often now? Or is that something you're still not quite seeing a big uptick on that?
Sure. So in this area, I don't know that we have a whole lot of, I'm not seeing a huge uptick. We do have them come in, but they come in for different services. So they still have brakes, tires, suspension, cooling systems. The electric vehicles, they have, I know there's one out there that has 3 different cooling systems that are supposed to be serviced annually. That's something that a standard gas-powered engine doesn't have. They just have one cooling system that you service every however thousand many miles. Thinking a lot of them are we recommend 70, 80,000 miles. I mean, we definitely are seeing technology changing with the automotive, the electric vehicles. And I think it's exciting. It's not going to happen quick. Read many reports of how things may peak as far as sales with gas engines in the 2030s, somewhere in there. This whole COVID has caused a delay in some manufacturers putting money into electric vehicles, and so all of that has a trickle effect. And so,
Sure.
yeah, it's not something. I think it's a really neat opportunity as a business to be able to dive into that. They're not unserviceable vehicles, so I mean, they're still going to need some shop to maintain them. So,
Is there anything electric vehicles provide challenges? Is there any challenges that electric vehicles provide that are totally different from the gas-powered or diesel-powered vehicles that you have? Or are they pretty much the same?
they would be different. I mean, so they would certainly share components, like I mentioned, with suspension and air conditioning and that kind of stuff. But I would say just the challenge of electric vehicles, I feel like, tend to have a little bit more technology built into them. And so just keeping up to speed with what that technology entails, how it works, tools that communicate with that kind of technology. I would say that's maybe the biggest challenge, just staying current on what's
Sure.
out there.
Okay, well, no, that makes a lot of sense. It really does.
Yeah.
How do you see technology changing in the industry over like the next 5 years, maybe next 10 years? Do you see a trend happening, or what's on the horizon?
As far as what's on the horizon, I think there's a lot of neat technology. Technology as a whole within the automotive sector, I think, is a huge positive. I mean, great advancements in safety and reliability, that kind of stuff. So I think technology as a whole is great. The challenge then is servicing them and making sure that as an independent shop, we can maintain all customer vehicles. So we want our customers to be able to come to us and say, I've got a Chevy Silverado and a Toyota Camry. Can you help me out? Do you know both vehicles? Yes, we can service you. So one-stop shop in a way. So as far as how things are advancing, I think there's going to be consistent transition towards electric. I don't know in the next 5 or 10 years that we'll see a huge impact as far as vehicles going electric. Certainly we'll start seeing more on the roads, but the majority of vehicles, I think, will still be combustion engines. So in that way, it gives us time to plan for the future. I'm not convinced that electric cars are the next Apple iPhone, that everyone has to have one, and that they're the perfect solution. There's still drawbacks to
Sure. What are those
electric
drawbacks?
vehicle. So range anxiety. What do you do when you get low in battery? I know there's charging stations all around, but if you're left set, what do you do? Do you have to get towed? Really nice to, if you run out of gas, that you can just get a gas tank, bring it back, pour it in, and you're done. You can go again. So I think that's a drawback. Parts availability. With being newer parts, newer vehicles coming out, that's a whole thing of, does the aftermarket make parts? Aftermarket makes good parts in a lot of cases. They tend to be less expensive. Factory parts, OEM parts, not in every case. And so what's part availability look like? So I think those are industries that are growing, and as they grow, I think they'll figure them out. As a whole, I don't see a whole lot of drastic change that will all be driving electric vehicles in 10 years. I think it'll be more common. It won't be the, oh my goodness, there's a Tesla, let's watch it as it goes down the street.
Yeah.
But I think it'll be something. We'll see more of them in our shop, and we will just continue to learn. The more you work on, the more you know the vehicle, and the better you can serve them. So we just want to stay ahead the curve on.
Oh, sure. Yeah, no doubt. The technology changes, every 3 months?
Yeah. It's amazing. Even seeing these brand new vehicles come out, and seeing the infotainment systems on it and thinking like, man, that looks antiquated. And you're thinking, this just came out. It's a $60,000, $70,000 vehicle, but we're used to the technology on our phones, which is amazing. Car manufacturers, even how they integrate with our phones now.
Yeah, that's cool.
It's a neat idea. I mean, it's really cool because they can put all that energy that they had put into making a beautiful infotainment system. Now the phone can take over, and you can have all your contacts, you can have all your apps and all that kind of stuff accessed directly through your vehicle. The wireless CarPlay and Android, it's fascinating technology.
Yeah, it's really cool. I even saw now today they're on your dash, not just like the normal infotainment center, but on the electronic dash now.
Yeah.
The Apple CarPlay will actually take over both sections depending on what vehicle you have.
Yeah, it's cool.
Yeah,
it's real cool. Yeah, getting to play around with that some. It's neat to see. That can be a huge challenge for consumers. We have have many customers that are retirement age and maybe aren't as quick to learn some of the technology on their phone. And so I had someone come in yesterday where they didn't know how to get their Wave app to talk through the car. It was just a setting that it needed to be switched to Bluetooth rather than coming through their phone speaker, but they don't know how to do that. And
wow,
I don't blame them. Things are changing so fast. How do you keep up with that?
There's that next level customer service.
Yeah, that's right.
If you can stay on top of these things, that can really carve out a nice segment into your niche that you talked about. That's really cool.
Exactly. Yeah. So we try to help out when we can. I find it fascinating how especially with phones, how they connect and what they can do to vehicles. And so it's a neat thing that we can love being able to help someone out. And when that person says, now I can call my daughter or my son through the vehicle, they love it. So it's great to see
awesome.
that. Yeah.
Very cool.
With sales, it's really cool to see the software that goes into buying a vehicle. As we search for quality vehicles that we can put on our lot, the way that even auctions have transitioned from having live auctions to being digital online. So during the pandemic, there were thousands of vehicles getting run through auctions that you were just a bidder online, and you'd have a video camera of this car running through an empty auction block, and it comes in, auctioneer's there doing his thing, and you're just bidding online.
Wow.
So it's cool to see how that has changed. Now they have opened the buildings back up, and so there's people there, and there's something about being able to go and see the vehicle that you're bidding on, which is invaluable. But just having the access to even go check out the vehicles ahead of time, come back and be able to bid from your desk is awesome. And then also how we can interact with customers, the social media platforms, the car searching platforms that we see and we get to post our vehicles on, and then just how we communicate with the customers is really neat to see how that has evolved and changed how we manage our inventory. It's amazing to see how that's progressed to where we can do most things our salesmen can do on their phone, as far as having a customer look at a vehicle, checking their information, doing all that kind of stuff can be done from a phone.
That is really cool. Now, on the flip side of that, what about selling the vehicles? So you're buying the vehicles online. Do you envision a world in which people are buying vehicles from you? You're selling these vehicles totally online without people looking at them. Has that happened to you yet?
It has happened. We do have people come look at the vehicle. We try to put detailed information online, detailed photos, videos when applicable, that can help the customer get an idea what this vehicle is like without having to be there. It's not something that happens often. We do have it happen. I was talking with someone the other day about how they feel dealerships, how this may affect dealerships, because Tesla's model of not having a dealership with cars on the lot is a fascinating model. You know what you're buying. You go and buy it online. You can go see an example of it if you want at this location, but you're not getting the car that's sitting there. And so that is a opportunity for that manufacturer as far as inventory opportunities. They can build them as they order them. They're not having a bunch of inventory sitting around. So how is that going to play out for the Ford and Chevy dealerships when they used to have hundreds of vehicles on their lot? Now they don't. Part of that is because supply chain.
Sure.
It just makes me wonder if manufacturers are slowly going to start transitioning to that model of being able to go online and buy a Silverado.
Does it eliminate commission?
That's a whole discussion. Sure. What does the dealership do? Do they still receive the vehicles and they get to make that interaction at that point? I can't imagine you'd have the same number of salesmen sitting around waiting for a customer to come in and show them a vehicle that you have on your lot. It's fascinating to see how technology is changing that and how it has changed that from when this pandemic started. It forces you to adapt. How can we still do business in that environment?
Do you think that will become a reality eventually?
I think so. Well, I know there's manufacturers that you can buy vehicles online, like going to Amazon, and I mean, you can buy anything online.
30-day return policy.
Right. So I don't know how that will affect, not the aftermarket, but the pre-owned vehicles. Like you had touched on, there are people that buy them without seeing it. But with pre-owned, each vehicle is a little different. It was cared for a little bit differently. Any vehicle that you drive for any amount of time is going to have stone chips or something here or there, maybe a spot on the seat that couldn't come out, whatever it may be.
Some heavy rust underneath.
Some rust underneath.
We live in Pennsylvania, after all.
Right. It's true. You will get some rust. Although we tried some without rust. Yeah. So what's that look like? How can you be sure that you are giving the accurate details of this vehicle and being as accurate about your description of the vehicle without them seeing it? Because in a lot of cases, a vehicle is the second most expensive thing that these people are going to buy behind a house. And so, yeah, when someone comes in and whether that vehicle is $60,000 or $16,000, to a lot of people, that's an investment.
So you're seeing maybe the brand new vehicles, maybe perhaps that'll be a quicker exit from the typical sales market than perhaps pre-owned.
Right.
Vehicles.
That would be where I'd see things going is the new vehicles will likely, I foresee that industry changing a lot more quickly ahead of pre-owned.
Do you think it opens up a whole world for guys like you? I mean, you guys do a lot of pre-owned, but perhaps do you guys do a lot of new vehicles?
So we don't do a lot of new. We do get into that some. There's a challenge there. Right now, it's so unique where you just can hardly buy a new vehicle, right? So
That's true too.
So if we have a vehicle that's a year old and has 8,000 miles, it's just about as good as new. So the challenge there is pricing, and it may be priced similar to what a new vehicle is, but if you can't get new, you're sort of in a tough spot for people that need a vehicle or businesses that need a vehicle. We see it a lot with businesses where they're in a position where when they don't have a vehicle, they're losing money. And so, yes, it's not a brand new vehicle, but it's something that they can use and go make a return on their investment, keep going. As a business, they need to continue to be out there for whatever their industry they're in. We do sell new vehicles. That's an interesting spot to be in. It's challenging when there's a dealership down the road that has a brand new vehicle and you have one that has 5,000 miles on it and there's only a couple $1,000s difference. Because then you have to have the consumer decide, is that brand new vehicle worth a few extra thousand, or it has the same warranties when we sell a vehicle, a manufacturer still warranties it and all that good stuff, but it's not new.
Sure.
So it's just that challenge, sort of that unique example. Most of our vehicles would tend to be in that 3 to 8 year old range. We do get, vehicles are staying good for 10 plus years. So we do try and keep some vehicles for customers that maybe aren't able to spend higher amount, but depending on budget is really what it comes down to. And so we try to have a vehicle for anyone, no matter what their budget is. But it can be challenging because we strive very hard to maintain a certain quality of vehicle that we're selling. And so it can be hard to find a vehicle that's 15 years old and still be able to have that quality that we want to sell in every vehicle.
Oh, that's fantastic.
Yeah.
It's fantastic. And dealers kind of have a rep, right? Like they have a bad rap, I should say.
Yeah.
They get that whole idea of that they're aggressive. I guess it's an opportunity for you guys to really buck that trend, especially if you can offer that same quality and they feel like they're getting the same product for
Sure.
a whole lot better experience.
Yep. Yeah. So I think there's a lot of people that have had some rough experience with automotive, but specifically with dealerships. And when you call that dealership, when I call a dealership, for whatever reason we may have, and the customer service that you get is not what you want. When I have that experience, what an opportunity we have as a business. Such a good reminder for me as a business to let's exceed that. We can do better.
Yeah.
And we can offer premier customer service. So
that's fantastic.
Yeah. It's good. It's neat to see how technology has has constantly changed this industry and will continue to do so. And we want to work hard to not be sitting back on our haunches and miss out on that opportunity to do better. Because I think as we grow and advance, we can serve our customers better.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
Yep. That's the goal.
Good. Awesome. Well, hey, I really appreciate you being part of this. I appreciate that you took the time to come out here and have a chat. What we ought to do now is schedule this out like another year or two to kind of see where some of these predictions are going. Are they trending towards electric vehicles? Are they trending towards total online sales of brand new vehicles? That could be interesting.
Yeah, it'd be fun. It's been neat, and even just thinking about some of these questions, it's neat to have a unique perspective on how these things are going, where they're trending. I mean, reading industry articles and just seeing the experts, where all they do is analyze the industry. What are they saying? And then what do we see in our neck of the woods and how they compare and what we need to be doing.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, hey, thanks again.
Yeah. Thanks for having me.
Absolutely. And I will be happy to have you on more.
Okay.
Perhaps I'll even make you my co-host.
I look forward to it.
I'd like to thank Tanner for stopping by to have this conversation. If you want to learn more about Keystone Quality Motors, be sure to check out the links in the podcast description. If you have any questions for Tanner or myself on any of the conversation discussed today, please feel free to reach out to me via the contact info in the description as well. And don't forget to subscribe to our podcast to hear more about technology and its impact in the business world.